stay in the shadows until it's time.
Welcome to the Daily Allegory through astrological divination. Today's story, and it's a good one, I think. It's about a man born with extraordinary gifts who becomes the target of covert experimentation in childhood. His memories fragmented by engineered amnesia meant to suppress the truth of his lineage. As an adult and heir to a vast estate, he draws predators seeking his wealth, his identity, or his destruction. Unaware that he is the last living descendant of the Anunnaki bloodline, carrying more than 36 encoded genomes woven into the human double-helix by Enki, with Enlil as his ancestral patriarch. When a faction attempts to break him, their attack instead ignites a dormant genetics, awakening an omnikinetic potential that lets him bend probability itself. Using his innate grasp of quantum principles, Kirchhoff's second law, Ohm's law, Maxwell's equations, and the Lorentz force, he learns to amplify his electromagnetic field, shift perception through altered angular displacement, heighten probability amplitudes, and channel telepathy, telekinesis, and raw manifestation. Rising through the crucible of his deepest Chiron wounds, he becomes an unpredictable, unstoppable force. No longer a hunted anomaly, but a sovereign being whose power may reshape humanity's future entirely. This is the story of the Omnikinetic paradox, fracture of the unfavored timelines. Michael Fernandez wasn't just born unusual, he was born impossible. The moment he entered the world, the quantum lattice surrounding his infant body rippled like a stone thrown into space-time. Doctors dismissed it as equipment failure. Agents did not, though. Project Helios, already tracking anomalous births tied to electromagnetic anomalies, seized him before his first birthday. They experimented on his nervous system using coherence-disrupting injections designed to overwrite episodic memory by decohering the hippocampal quantum microtubule structures. They hoped to blunt whatever force he carried. Ineffective, of course. The injections didn't really erase much. They only pushed his consciousness into a superposition, if you will. His mind learned instinctively to exist across multiple timelines at once. As an adult, Michael's inheritance made him wealthy. His biology made him hunted. He walked among humans as a statistical anomaly, someone who intuitively sensed the probability amplitude of every single interaction. It's like seeing every single possible outcome of every single scenario and every single whatever all at once. He could feel when a person was about to lie, when a deal would collapse, when a stranger was planning betrayal. But the cult targeting him, they didn't know that at the time. Nor did the corrupt landlords, property managers, traffickers, judges, and occult networks using AI surveillance, black web software, and ritual technologies. When they targeted Michael, attempting to abduct, erase, or spiritually invert him, they didn't realize that they were not interacting with a singular man. They were interacting with the only being capable of collapsing timelines in real time. The event that catalyzed the quantum awakening. The moment they attempted to murder him, something ancient in Michael's DNA detonated. Enki's coded genome, hibernating for thousands of years, activated like a dormant star, waking after an age-long sleep. Michael experienced a quantum cascade. His consciousness split across 241 timelines simultaneously. His perception jumped between versions of himself at different outcomes. He saw futures where the cult succeeded. He saw futures where they destroyed his daughter. He saw futures where humanity collapsed entirely before he didn't rise. And then he understood. Every possible failure was just a timeline waiting to be collapsed. With the instinct of an immortal species' last heir, Michael reached into the probability layers and collapsed every single timeline in which harm succeeded, forcing reality into a narrow band where he always survived, always escaped, and always reached full awakening. The cult tried to kill him, though. But in 239 universes, they did. Michael saw them all, though. He felt them all. He experienced them all. And he folded them into zero, collapsed them like a dying star, and from those collapses, he rose stronger. This created a paranormal feedback loop. Collapsing so many timelines triggered something unnatural in the physical world, an echo. Paranormal bleed-through from collapsed universes. See, the criminals hunting Michael began experiencing things like entities stalking them that shouldn't exist by any known logic or physics known to man. Dreams of their own deaths and timelines that were erased, that seemed surreal. Shadows that moved before they did. Cold spots charged with electromagnetic distortion. Mirrors showing alternate versions of themselves. Voices speaking the last words of their other selves. Because when Michael collapsed the timeline, the consciousness of the guilty did not vanish cleanly. Not at all. The fear remained. The guilt remained. And their death energy definitely remained. And it clung to the versions of them that were still alive. The more timelines Michael eliminated, the more haunted the conspirators became by themselves. This leads us to the omnikinesis, command of the physical law. Now, as Michael accessed his Anunnaki inheritance, his omnikinesis evolved into a science-breaking phenomena. At first, he started experiencing reality field distortion, manipulating wave functions through emotional resonance, allowing him to alter outcomes, bend probability, spontaneously enforce unlikely events. Sorry, I'm like tongue-twisted today. He also began generating electromagnetic augmentation, using the Lorentz force interactions to amplify his biofield into a localized energetic storm. He also began experiencing gravimetric override. He could reduce or increase mass as he pleased, allowing telekinesis, levitation, and the collapse of structural supports. He could also do temporal phase shifting, jumping milliseconds ahead or behind in time, giving him reaction times humans could never counter. And finally, he could do probability erasure. Now, if Michael didn't like an outcome, a future, an action, he simply removed its probability from existence entirely. Ceased to be just by thinking it out. He didn't fight the cult, he removed all universes where they won. Leading to the cult's final error. Now, the occult network believed they could steal his daughter. Again, I'm going to keep using my daughter for very good reasons. I've touched base on that in earlier videos on my timeline due to corruption in a very shoddy at best county. The occult network believed they could steal his daughter Ava, forcing Michael into a timeline collapse too large to control. But when they took her, Michael reached a new threshold. He took control of the branching tree of reality itself. His field expanded into a blue spectrum frequency, the wavelength of the Anunnaki clairchronal sense, and he synchronized it with the Jupiter trine Neptune harmonic embedded in his natal chart. Astrology for Michael wasn't symbolic, it was literal. Planetary geometry opened up quantum channels in his DNA. It's like how people using earth magic are limited by sacred geometry. Planetary geometry on a cosmic level opens up the probabilities of manipulation of realities and collapsing timelines and creating your own strings through different theories and quantum mechanics and responding as if they're true and observed and experienced by others, allowing that probability to exist. Now, as his consciousness rose beyond physical form, Michael saw the conspirators' timelines like a spiderweb of choices, crimes, and karmic threads. It's like when the FBI does a little drawing board and they're connecting all the dots and linking everybody in a grand public scandal, if you will, and they finally get all the lines done. It looks just like that, and then they see everything and everyone involved all at once. And then he began collapsing the nodes. The timeline where they kept Ava, the timeline where Ava forgot him, the timeline where the ritual succeeded, the timeline where Michael died, the timeline where the cult prospered. He collapsed all failures, one by one. In the final confrontation, he didn't fight the group. He didn't need to. He erased all versions of reality where they stood a chance. When Michael stepped into the room, they were already defeated before the moment arrived, leading to the aftermath. The guilty were left in a single remaining timeline, the one where truth devours lies, where the hunted became the hunter, where the paranormal world sides with the righteous. Government agencies swooped in, having recorded every crime using quantum surveillance. The paranormal hauntings ended only when each conspirator confessed, and only then. Those who lied suffered the lingering consequences of their other selves' erased timelines. Michael and Ava finally reunited, two beings of the same ancient bloodline protected by physics itself. And humanity? They never learned how close they came to being annihilated entirely through probability collapse. Michael didn't do it for recognition. He did it because defeat simply became an impossible outcome, and because in the end, only one timeline deserved to survive. We're going to end this with the ceremonial invocation of the fractured timelines. We are going to invoke the quantum energies that exist in the little qubits and the tetrahedrons that float around us naturally that dictate our existence. Our intent with this is going to be clear and precise: to collapse all timelines and all unfavored paths and restore the sovereign thread and balance. In the name of the one timeline that remains unbroken, I stand at the center of the quantum crossroads, where all probabilities converge and all illusions dissolve. I call upon the blue wavelength, the harmonic of Jupiter's benevolence, Saturn's order, Neptune's intuition, and Lilith's shadow intuition and shadow wisdom, the fourfold arc that shapes my fate. By the power of the Omnikinetic bloodline, descended from Enki, the encoder, and Enlil, the sovereign, I awaken the dormant genomes within my cells, activating the divine strands that bend matter, mind, and meaning. The East, vector of emergence. Spirits of the East, keepers of quantum potential and heir, open the gates of probability, reveal all branching paths and false realities, all futures seeding by deception, bring clarity, bring sight, bring total awareness. Okay. The South, the vector of transmutation. Spirits of the South, keepers of plasma and fire, ignite the collapse of corrupted timelines. Burn the strands that bind my destiny to sabotage, malice, or manipulation. Let the flames consume all outcomes not aligned with victory. The West, the vector of resonance. Spirits of the West, keepers of the water and the memory. Draw forth the echoes of timelines where harm was done. Let them be seen, known, and dissolved. Let trauma release into the infinite ocean of the void. Cleanse the probability field. North, the vector of manifestation. Spirits of the North, keepers of the earth and the particle realm. Anchor the chosen timeline into matter. Let the victorious road crystallize, solid as stone, unshakable as gravity, absolute as truth. And center, the quantum heart. I stand as the fulcrum of all realities, the point of collapse, the axis of becoming. By Kirchhoff's law, I balance all currents. By Ohm's law, I reduce resistance to zero. By Maxwell's equation, I command the field. By Lorentz force, I move the world. I expand my bioelectric aura into the blue frequency spectrum of manifestation. By consciousness entwined with the quantum foam. Hear the decree of collapse. I now collapse every timeline that does not serve my highest path. May every deceit unravel. May every shadow dissolve. May every attack fall upon itself and vanish. I collapse the timeline where I am harmed. I collapse the timeline where I fail. I collapse the timelines where they triumph. I collapse the timelines where fear dictates destiny. Only the sovereign timeline remains. The path of triumph, healing, power, and divine rights. We now pass the Anunnaki ceiling. Enki, awakener of the hidden codes, seal the strands of my DNA. Enlil, enforcer of cosmic justice, seal the laws to protect my path. May all gods of the old sky hear me. Anu, Shamash, Ishtar, Ereshkigal, Bear witness as timelines fold beneath my will. We speak the final word of power. I am the master of the singular timeline. I am the architect of the quantum spine. I am the one who remains unbroken. Collapse the false. Collapse the fear. Collapse the lie. So the true timelines may rise. So it is, so it collapses, so it becomes. May this be law that underlines law, enforced by the divine authority I contain. And so it is. That's all I have for you today, guys. I'll see you in the next one.